We're going to talk about budgeting today. It's so simple, but it's so powerful, and the best of all, it works. That's why I love it.
I mean, I think you'll agree that sometimes the most powerful messages that you can share are the simple ones.
Yeah, I'm in the finance business for over 25 years. I almost never found a budget that held on for more than like 2 years. Most of them fell apart like after 6 months.
If you can offer a budget solution that works, you've already done the Olam a tremendous service. Adding that one budget line at the top of the budget, savings. Now that you've spoken it out, it seems so obvious and simple, but it's a game changer.
Git Gelt, the wisdom for your well.
Reb Shulam,
Okay.
hello, how are you?
Good
Episode 2.
morning, Reb Chaim. How you doing? It is so nice to see you.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. I got very good feedback from the first conversation, which was pillar number 1, and I think today we're going to talk about pillar number 2. I'm excited about it.
Excellent. In the feedback, was there anything that people brought to your attention that you felt we need to address?
No, I think people want to see the whole picture before they're going to give comments on adjusting. But pillar number 2 is something that it's interesting because it's so simple, and I sometimes I've scratched my head why I even speak about it when it's so simple. But the fact of the matter is that it's not so much relevant the information as it is what people are doing and if people are succeeding with the information. So when you have a simple concept but people don't do it, then bringing it to the awareness of people, and because of that, having them do it, it can change the world for them.
Oh, I mean, I think you'll agree that sometimes the most powerful messages that you can share are the simple ones, because that's what
Absolutely.
resonates. I mean, Mesilas Yesharim says in the Hakdama to Mesilas Yesharim that I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I mean, this is simple, obvious things, but we need to be reminded and made aware of them.
Absolutely. And that's we're going to talk about budgeting today. And I want to make a Hakdama. I want you to understand, Shulam, that the way I came up with this concept is by helping many people budget. I'm doing this. I'm in the finance business for over 25 years, Baruch Hashem.
Right.
I helped many people budget. Most of them, especially in the beginning of my career when I started doing that, I almost never found a budget that held on for more than like 2 years. Most of them fell
Right.
apart like after 6 months. But and we're talking about people who really care, people who want to do the right thing. They want a budget, and they everything that we did on pen and paper, it made sense, and it was
Right.
it was exactly as we I don't see why it fell apart. I didn't understand back then why it fell apart. Now I know why it fell apart. And it forced me to be creative. For a while, I stopped helping people budget. People would tell me, Chaim, help me have a good budget. I would just ignore them. I would tell them, yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a waste of time and a waste of money because none of the budgets worked. So until I came up with this, and it's so simple, but it's so powerful, and the best of all, it works. That's why I love it.
Right. Listen, if you can offer a budget solution that works, you've already done the Olam a tremendous service.
Yeah. Besides saving money, it's also saving a lot of time. Let me
And
give it to you.
stress.
It's saving a lot of time because a lot of people spend a lot of time with either by themselves or with Askunam to do budgeting, and it's chaval because they do it and it ends up not working. What's the point?
Right.
So
I want to just add that I don't think people appreciate the value of a budget. It's more than just saving time. If you have a budget in place, the amount of shalom bias that you are helping and the amount of stress you're addressing, I mean, having those financial burdens can just be so overwhelming. And once you put it down on paper and you have something that clicks, it's a different world. So I really think it's a
absolutely,
huge service.
absolutely. I think probably money problems is one of the main reasons for people to have trouble, in other areas of their life.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I know for sure for me it was a game changer once I found that. But let's not keep the oilum so naigerik,
Yeah,
and
yeah, and suspense. Let's do it.
let's jump in. But two words, it's reverse budgeting. And I'll explain you what I mean with reverse budgeting. Reverse budgeting basically means that for most people, the way that they look at budgets is they look at like a list of their income, a list of their expenses, and then whatever is left, that's how much they save. But you know the problem with most people, what it is, right? Nothing left.
Yeah.
So and then he says, I tried to budget. What can I do? They didn't, nothing left. So for a long time, I helped clients like with Excel and all kind of formulas. You need to save so much for this and so much for this, for annual expenses, for seasonal expenses. We created a budget for that. And then, we like human and then for vacations, and then for this, for that. And try to think as a father of a family with children, and you have a budget, you have a tight income, you have a finite income, and then you create a budget, and all of a sudden you get a call from the melamed of your son, the Rebbe of your son, and he tells you, listen, Reb Shulam, your son, a wonderful kid, but he's struggling a little bit. In order for him to succeed in Cheder, you need to hire a private tutor. So are you going to tell him, listen, let me check with my budget first? Or you
Yeah.
would do what I would do and say, no problem, where do I sign?
Right.
So the problem when it comes to people like Orthodox Jews, in other words, people who have a higher value system than the financial part of their lives. Their finances is only there to finance the bigger value, the higher value.
Wow.
The finance is not where it starts and not where it begins. It's only the means to an end. So for people
I
like
see.
that, it's very, very, very difficult that a budget should work out in the long term, because always, when you have a family with children, always something is going to come up. Always. If not this month, next month. If not next month, next year. But that's why I said most of the budgets fell apart after 6 months. All of them, all of them, and I say all of them, I mean like all of them was not enforced after 2 years maximum.
Mhm.
And when I thought about that, I came up with this formula, and I speak in my book about this, my upcoming book, hopefully in a few weeks in Beit Hashem. The formula came up with the strategy that most people do for budgeting, with the strategy that doesn't work. The formula came up is PIES, PIES. And I liked it when I
Okay.
came up with it.
Pies.
PIES, PIES.
Okay.
And I liked it because I thought to myself, people who suffer in certain areas in their lives usually suffer in other areas as well.
Absolutely.
And for example, let's talk about health. Some people have health issues. Unfortunately, they should all be healthy, but unfortunately, it comes from negative eating habits. And one negative eating habit that a lot of people have, is eating a lot of pizza. So you go into the store and you order a pie, and you eat three slices, four slices, and then you complain of heartburn and whatever it is. Yeah. So, in my mind, a pie of pizza has an association with something negative. So, sorry if any restaurant is listening to this, any pizza store owner, nothing personal, but I don't know what to tell you. I'm not a big fan of pizza. I mean, I like pizza, but I'm not a big fan of overeating pizza. So, and I'm not a big fan of people using the PIES formula for financial budgeting either. So what does PIES stand for? So we start with the P. P is poor, meaning poor people equals, what do poor people do? First of all, they take their income, and then they subtract their E, which is their expenses, and then they're left with savings, the S. And as we discussed, usually the problem is that there's nothing left.
Right.
That's why it's a poor person's formula for budgeting.
Okay.
What we need to do is it's the same idea, but we just need to rearrange the letters, and we're going to call that wise. What wise people do, chachomim, what do wise people do? And that's the W is the wealth, because wealthy people, successful people, wealthy people, what do they do? And it's so basic. It's so basic, and if you go interview successful people, wealthy people, this is really what they do. And I have stories and stories on that. What do? They take the I, which is the income, and then they subtract their savings, which is the first expense, is savings, and then whatever is left goes for E for expenses.
So the different the factor that changes is rather than deducting expenses from income, you're deducting savings initially. So the
It
pie
all
is
depends. What is the first thing you do? Is the first thing you deduct expenses, or is the first thing you deduct savings?
right. So that's the difference.
And that's the
I'm
difference, and it makes the world of a difference. Of course, how much and where to save, all that is in the book in detail, but I'm not going to go into that, but in this short time that we have together. But what you have to understand, Shulam, is that we have two types of people. Let's talk about simple employees who are living on a certain, in the time economy. They trade their time for money, and they have a limited income. These people usually they will, of course, they're gonna have to know how much to save. But once they know how much to save, if they're not gonna do it this way, usually an expense will arise and they will not be able to save. But if you tight yourself such a way, then you're gonna be forced to be creative. Like, maybe I can go into my boss for a raise. Maybe I can add another service. Maybe I can have a side job. Maybe I can have something else. But when you don't have the pressure, the financial pressure of your budget, I don't have. I need money to cover my grocery bill, my rent, my mortgage, whatever. You're not gonna do that. You're not gonna do that just because, oh yeah, I have pressure. I have to cover my savings. Okay, you know what? In 3 months from now, I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna get a tax return by then, and then I'm gonna start saving. You have all kinds of excuses. Versus if you do it this way, and of course, it's not so simple as I put it, because you also have to know where to put it and what to do in order to build the mold around it. You shouldn't touch it so easily. There's a lot of other things that go into that, but the formula, the foundation, is the wise versus pies.
So it sounds like a very goal oriented. You're switching. You're introducing setting a goal of savings as opposed to just trying to get through the month by paying off your expenses and see whatever's left. So you're like intentionally creating a goal here of savings. Is
Of course,
that
we're creating a goal of savings, but even more important, we're creating an expense of saving. And even more important than that, it's the first expense, not the last expense.
I see. And where's the you started out with the muscle of eating pizza and overeating pizza. At the end of the day, probably one of the most important pieces to this puzzle is educating people about what a bad effect eating so much pizza is having. I assume in the wise model, education plays a big part. I mean, people have to understand the value of what you're introducing here.
Yes and no. I tell you, it's important. It's very important, the education part. It's important to have the details, like where to invest, how to diversify, etc., etc. It's very important, and I talk about it in the book in more detail. But I tell you, Shulam, that's not so important as the savings itself. Meaning, in other words, so many people are not saving money because they have an excuse. They don't know where to save it or where to invest it. And that's the reason they don't save. They don't shop. Why do you need to know where to invest when you don't even save? It doesn't go this way. It's just the opposite, the other way around. You have to save first, put it in a savings account, in a money market. I really don't care where you put it. Just save it. Make sure you save the money. And then I want you to come to me with a problem that you have so much money sitting there and you don't know what to do with it. Please teach me, say, investments. Please teach me other strategies. That's the way that successful people are doing it. The other way, Shulam, as much as I love the person as a human being and as a yid, but it's a formula for failure. You go to most people who are not successful, most poor people. Unfortunately, I have rahmanas on them. Don't get me wrong, but most of them have a list. I don't know, a big list of people who are at fault why they're not succeeding.
Right.
And one of the people or things, and one of the things in the list is going to be because they didn't know. Nobody taught me. Nobody gave me education where to invest. I'll tell you what, Shulam, I didn't get an education where to invest when I was younger. I didn't. I studied it. I made it my business. Okay, I was in the business. It's different. I agree. But still, if this is something important to you, make it your business to understand where to invest. But I'm telling you, it's secondary. It's not the primary thing. The primary thing, start saving, and then don't know what to do with it, and go study it. And we have courses on that, and we have the book, and you can, you can just Google whatever, but that's secondary. I want you to take it. I want you to take it as a part of yourself. Make it as part of yourself, as your being.
Right.
That it's a fundamental thing to save money, and then you're gonna figure out how to where to invest it.
Right.
If you want to
Wow.
comment
Okay.
something on that, you can. But I wanna, I just am
No, no, I
reminded
want
of
to hear more. Please tell us
I'm
more.
reminded of a story I had from my mentor Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor, he passed away a few years ago, and I had the privilege of being mentored by him. I miss him so much. He was such a great mentor. I know some people heard about him. He wrote the foreword for my book, Escape from the Prison of Comfort and Create the Life of Your Dreams, which people can buy on Amazon by putting in my name or the name of the book. But whatever. So he told me that a lady once came to him, and he was talking about a lot about mindset, about the law of attraction and mindset. If you have the proper mindset, you can attract good things to you. We know it from Chazal also, but unfortunately, I didn't learn so good in yeshiva, so I had to hear it from him. So, so he was talking about mindset. You can attract anything you want if you really put your mind to it. You can attract it. So you have to, but it has to be built in your mind. The way I look at it is more like some people think somebody who has money is a wealthy person, but it's just the opposite. Somebody who is a wealthy person attracts money.
Mhm.
So, so he once told me that a lady came to him and told me, "You're talking about mindset, the law of attraction. I can attract everything. How come for years already I want to have new furniture in my house? How come I don't attract it?" So Bob asked her, "So you want to have new furniture?" She said, "Yes." "How badly do you want it?" She said, "Very badly." "And you believe you can get it?" "Yes, of course." She was fully in. I believe I can get it. She had the mindset. You believe you can get it like this week? Of course. I'm ready to believe that also. So Bob asked her, where are you going to put the furniture? She said, "What do you mean? I have in my dining room a place where I will put one piece of furniture, then in my bedroom, and then she described the whole house." And then Bob asked her, "What is now in that space?" She said, "What do you mean? My old furniture." So Bob asked her, "How are you going to put in your new furniture there if you have your old furniture?" She said, "I'm going to take it out and I'm going to put the new." So Bob asked her, "Why do you have to wait for the furniture to come by the end of the week? And then you're going to take it out. And then you're not going to know where to put in the new furniture, like until as long as it's going to take you to take it out. For the time it's going to take you to take it out. Go now to your house, take out all the furniture, and then you create room for the new furniture." She said, "What do you mean? And if I don't get it, then where I put my stuff?" So Bob said, "Oh, you see, you don't believe. You don't really believe that you're gonna get it. So that's why you're not attracting it." So it's so powerful that in order to attract it, you have to really believe it. Lahavdul and Amunah and Betochen, we also know that if you have a very strong Amunah and a strong Betochen that you're gonna get something, you will most probably get it. Reb Nachman talks in the Kutam around that the person who really believes he's gonna become a Osher will definitely become a Osher. Yeah, where did I got sidetracked on this?
Well, we were talking about budgeting and just how important it is that people recognize the value of saving, and and then you were just talking about the fact that everybody can make it happen, and that's how you got to this story. But once you said this story, I would like to just ask you a question because, listen, we both have run into people who are, fall really try very hard to do the whole 10 times, and they really want to make that jump and they don't succeed. At the end of the day, they just don't succeed. And so for every story you tell me about how there are people who did, there are plenty of people who didn't. So and that can be terribly demotivating and difficult for people who did go for that jump but just didn't make it over to the other side. And I don't know if you're going to talk about that now or something that you're going to talk about later, but how do you address that?
Yeah, of course. We can definitely talk about it now. It's important, and I tell you what, we have to keep talking about it because it's such an important conversation. It's such an important question that a lot of people have. I tried so much and it didn't work. Okay, so what do you want to do? You want to stop trying because of that? So I'll tell you what. When you show me a person that tried his whole life to succeed, we're talking about financial success here, but it's true in every area of your life. You show me he tried his whole life to succeed and he never succeeded, but he kept trying. And he's now gone. Let's say he passed away. I will tell you, yeah, it looks like that the Ribono Shel Olam didn't want him to succeed, whatever, something like that. But if you show me a living person who lives and breathes, and he tells me such a statement, I will tell him maybe you want to try away from success. How do you know? You never know. And as long as you have your neshama in you, you have to try, keep trying. You keep trying, you keep trying. And if that doesn't work, what do? You try again, something else. If that doesn't work, you try again until your last breath. In order, um, let's put it this way. I believe that not everybody is meant to succeed. But I also believe that anybody who listens to us speaking about it is most probably meant to succeed, and that's why Hashem put him in the direction to listen to us. And I believe that so strongly until proven otherwise. So until the person cannot prove me that Hashem doesn't want him to succeed, I believe that he can succeed and he will succeed. And just come with me. Isn't that something that you want? I'm talking to the listener. Isn't that what the listener wants? So join me.
I think for the sake of the listeners, Chaim, you keep using the word succeed and success. Why don't you define that for us? What does success mean to you when you say succeed?
I'm talking about financial success, but it's not limited to financial success.
But what does that mean, financial success?
It has nothing to do with what it means to me. It has to do with the listener, what it means to the listener. I can tell you what financial success means to me, and I'm working very hard for that, for myself. You can tell me what it means for you. But when we have, a few thousand listeners and everybody has a different definition, I'm not talking about my definition for you. It has no relevance. Whatever you want to succeed with, and you see that you didn't succeed until now, you tried and failed, you tried and failed, you tried and failed. All I can tell you, if you did it for 20, you tried for 20 years and you failed, yeah, just you have so much more experience now after 20 years. You know so many things that you would have probably succeeded if you would have been persistent. You probably gave up too quickly. Okay, you know a lot of things that you should probably never have tried to begin with. Okay, but you have so much more experience. So why in the world give up? You crazy? All that trial and error will go in vain, go down in vain. It makes no sense. You're a smart person. So why giving up? Mila, somebody without emunah gives up. I can hear, but if you dress what you walk around like a Orthodox Jew, representing certain type of value, which I hope includes also emunah and betuchen, you give up. You're out of your mind. What do you give up on your life? You crazy? I mean, what do you grab yourself with Hashem and keep going? Go to a higher power and stop listening to negativity. Get rid of people who keep telling you that it can't be done. Get rid of people who keep reminding you of your failures, and you're gonna keep failing. And such a way, you can't help it but succeed until proven otherwise. I mean, could be that you're not going to succeed. I don't know, but you have to try until as long as you have.
And I think you touched on something, and we'll move on after this. But you mentioned just being a frum yid, take advantage. I think we don't realize how far ahead of the game we are as far as being able to feel motivated and driven, because we have ingrained within our culture, within Yiddishkeit, the like you said, emunah b'tachon, that if we just make the effort to pay a bit more attention to these tools that we already have in our toolbox, they're there. How much further ahead of the game we are as far as remaining hopeful and driven and motivated. We have these tools. Like people who don't have these tools have a much bigger struggle because they have to first find these tools, but we have them. So like you mentioned then. And we have to value that we're Baruch Hashem, we're blessed with that.
Absolutely. I was sitting in seminars with hundreds of people, non-Jews, with together with Bob Proctor, and he kept pushing this agenda that people shouldn't give up, people should keep trying. And I was watching the non-Jews like a breath of fresh air, and I was thinking to myself, wow, thank God I have that just from Torah, just from
Right.
Yiddishkeit. Wow, that's so good. It was so refreshing to see them. And now, but I tell you, Shuni, you know what happens now? You know what happens now to the so-called from Jew? um, I'm saying so-called because sometimes he can fool himself also. Maybe he doesn't act like a from Jew when it comes to this part sometimes. So he listens to this. You know what he's gonna say? But Hashem, maybe Hashem doesn't want me to succeed. And now what you did, you destroyed your whole Yiddishkeit, you destroyed your whole Atzlocha, you destroyed your whole success. Because now you're putting it on Hashem. What? What are you doing here? You know what you're doing here? You're not enough that you're destroying yourself. You're putting it on Hashem. Hashem doesn't want me to succeed. How do you know? How do you know?
Right.
Did he tell you you're a Novi? Your Hashem doesn't want, because my Baba said that we didn't come on this world to eat candies and to have sugar and to have only a good life. We meant to suffer. What? You're out of your mind. That's what you label Hashem of doing such a thing. Yeah, there is suffering in the world, but who says that you have to be part of that?
Right.
Drop it. Don't put, and if you are, please, I beg you, in the name of my religion, don't put it on religion. Don't put it on Hashem. You decided that you're lazy to get out of bed. You decided that you tried 30 times. That's why you don't want to try the 31st time. Okay, go. It's your bechira. It's your choice. Go do it. But don't put it on Hashem. That's not
Right.
good. People will think that to be a Elechit, you have to suffer. It's not true. You can be a Elechit and just be joyous and happy and have tons of money and tons of seichel and live a life that you really want to live, that Hashem wants you to live.
Right. Excellent. Fantastic. Okay, tell me more.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention one other thing on the budget thing that, we talked about employees, and now let's talk about entrepreneurs. Entrepreneur, I tell you, in my life, good for me, Baruch Hashem, I'm happy, I was blessed that I was almost never an employee. I was always an entrepreneur, self-employed. But the first, I think, like 8 or 9 months, maybe even 12 months of my working life, I was an employee. It was very, very difficult for me. Not much. I didn't like it. I hated the job. I didn't make enough income. I worked so hard and it was terrible. And back then I thought maybe it's a bad thing, but now I look back, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because this way I can relate to other people also. But then the other people will tell me, "Oh, you're gonna relate to me. You were an employee for 6 to 12 months when you were 20 years old, and I am blah blah blah." I agree. I'm not. I probably cannot totally relate to the employee who is working 25 years as an employee, marrying off children, having a ton of expenses, a big overhead, and still not enjoying their job, still being miserable with what they do and not making enough income. I probably cannot relate 100% to you, but if you want me to be able to relate to you, come on my side, no problem. Become self-employed, become an entrepreneur. But I tell you, one of the nice things that entrepreneurs have on their side is, if they go with the formula of saving first, they have their income, they subtract their savings, and whatever is left, they use for expenses. And now at the end of the month, they see that they really nothing, they really don't have enough to cover their expenses. Or the end of a few months, or a Pesach comes, a Sukkot comes, a vacation comes, whatever. They don't have enough. The beautiful thing about the entrepreneur is he can be creative now. He can think about two ways. One way is, maybe I shouldn't save that much, which is bad. Don't think that way. But the other thing you can do is put on your creative hat and think to yourself, okay, I have more expenses than I can cover. Maybe I can create another income. What can I do? Maybe I'm charging too less. Maybe I can come up with a new product. Maybe I can a new service. You can be creative. Maybe I can hire a new employee that will help me create a new service, whatever. You can be creative. So, but this privilege, entrepreneurs have it more than employed people, than employees. Not to say that employees don't have it. I have seen many, many times. The nature of somebody being an employee a lot of times means also that he has a nature of not having the guts to go out and speak to people, or having the
Right.
guts and stand up for himself. And that's the reason that I see many, many times employees who are underpaid, and they have on the list of people to blame, it's their boss who's not giving them a raise. And when asking them, when is the last time you had a conversation with your boss about the raise, they would say 3 years ago. But he's still on the list. And then when they have, a new child is born or a chasana comes or whatever, life happens to them, they're forced, because their wife tells them you have to go, the askunim tell them, the mishpucha, the family tells them you have to go. They're forced, and by forced, they get into the boss's office and they say, the last time I was raised was only 3 years ago, and now I have another twin children, and I need to have more money. I cannot afford the tuition, and they change colors. Never, I have pity on them, but they also have something in them that they can create more income if they see that they're lacking the savings. They can. You just have to categorize the savings as a new child that is born, and this way, you're going to treat it the same as you would treat it if your expenses go up because you have a new child born. Am I making sense,
Right.
Shulam?
You're making a lot of sense. I mean, what I'm hearing is just that your savings have got to become a budget line in your budget and has to be the first budget item in your budget. That is what I'm hearing from you is really the aside here is savings is just as important as paying your electric bill. And
More
if anything,
important.
it's even more important
More
because it's got
important.
to be
If you don't have
the
electricity
first
for
thing
one night, if you don't
to
have
manage.
electricity for night, it's bad. I'm not suggesting it's not bad. It's bad. You're gonna do whatever it takes to get back your electricity, including going around by your minion asking people for charity for Achnusas Kala, but you're gonna cover your electric bill. It's bad.
Right,
But what is even more bad, what is even worse is not to save. You know why? Because you're not gonna feel it immediately, so you're not gonna do anything immediately, and the problem is gonna compound in a way that when the situation comes and you don't have the funds for it, it's gonna be so bad, and you're not gonna be able to do anything other than chas v'chalila, things that can get you sick and
right.
embarrass you. So it's even worse.
Excellent. I mean, it's a huge aside, and I think it's extremely sensible. It makes a lot of it makes a lot of sense.
Right. And the reason I choose this as pillar two, it's very important, but it's not pillar one, it's pillar two. Why is it pillar two, not pillar one? Because when we talk about the first pillar, the side of the first pillar is that you should know and do what you love doing. So when I want to tell the person create more income, which is what we're talking in pillar two, create more income if you have to in order to increase your saving. We want to tell them create more income if they do as their occupation what they hate doing. It's like, oh, how do I create more income by doing more of what I hate? I don't want. But if you have that in place, know and do what you love doing, and now you tell them create more income, it's like telling them do more of what you love. Oh, really? Wow. I
Right,
can't wait. I want to do more. I want to be more creative with it because I love doing it.
right,
So somebody loves writing. You tell them you have to write another book every year. Oh, really? I love that. Now I have a good excuse for my wife to tell her, I cannot go spend time for some shtusam somewhere because I have to write another book. I have to.
right,
I have to expand. It's an enjoyable thing for them. So that's why this is pillar two, and
right,
the knowing and doing what you love is pillar one.
right. And
And after we're
I'll
gonna
just
talk about
inter
pillar three, everything is gonna come together.
I just want to interject. Pillar one is more my area of expertise. That's what I spend a lot of time helping people with, is I helping people identify what they love doing, and not only what they love doing, but what they really have a natural, a natural inclination to do, um, which I think feeds into doing what you love doing. Because if you know yourself well enough, and you know your talents, and you know what motivates you, and you know what you're passionate about, and you can then with that value understanding of yourself, find career fields or jobs that will complement that, then your half the battle is fought already because you found
Absolutely.
that.
Can't agree
and
more.
and and what I want to say is that it's not as challenging, or as difficult as it may sound, because getting to know what you're good at and what you enjoy doing sounds quite overwhelming because I mean, how can you ever quantify that? But there are tools out there, and there are people out there who have experience to be able to facilitate that conversation. That's what I do as well, is I'm a facilitator of that discussion. And there are tools out there. And I just want to say that I recognize, just based on my own experience, the value of helping people get to that recognition of understanding, what they're good at and what they want to do, which then feeds into pillar two, which is, now that you've gotten that far, let's make sure that we've got you're set up to be able to actually monetize that in a successful way.
100%. So if people want more personal help, sometimes it's difficult because the person has his own emotions in the way. He has his
Absolutely.
nagias. He wants the result should be a certain thing. But when you work with somebody like they work with somebody like you, Shulam, you're very objective. You don't have any emotions there. You're very to the point, and
Right.
you want to make sure that they really identify their strong points, and that's what you're going to focus on 100%.
Right.
So
Right.
listen, if somebody wants more personal, hands-on assistance with it, of course, they should go to the Pshulam.
Or anybody else who's got
Now
that
it sounds like a
ability.
commercial.
No, yeah. I mean, I appreciate the plug,
Right.
but sometimes external people value you more than we value ourselves. You
Absolutely.
know,
Absolutely.
okay.
Sometimes we have to find in ourselves something external about ourselves also that we should be able to look at in from the
And it's
outside.
hard. And it's really a big challenge.
Right.
We can be our worst critics.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Anything else you want to add before we close today, Pshulam?
No, I honestly, I think what today's pillar, I think it's a game changer. I really do. And like you said, you stuck to your opening statement about simplicity. It's so simple. Just adding that one budget line at the top of the budget, savings. Now that you've spoken it out, it seems so obvious and simple, but it's a game changer, because that, once you, like you said, once you put yourself in a position where you've made this commitment, you'll find a way to make the rest of it work, as long
Yeah.
as you really are you
You know,
you
when
maintain
I
that
found
drive.
that out, it changed my life. It's the first time I made beautiful income before also. Somehow, every time I tried to save, I never succeeded for years. When I realized that, my whole life changed. And I had the privilege that not everybody has. I had the privilege of being able to monitor and observe successful people in their financial lives. And I made it my business to find out what is it that they do that works and that I don't do.
Right.
And some of them made less money than me. They earned less money than me, and somehow they always succeeded. And I made more money than them, and somehow I never had extra money for major expenses. I always had to
Right.
wait and then take a loan and then repay. I always had to do something. And when I found that out, it changed my life. And I tell you, Shulam, it works. The other budgeting system, you can listen to Dave Ramsey, to Susie Orman, left and right, from here to I don't know where. It doesn't work. Maybe it works for the simple American guy that lives somewhere in the suburbs with two children and two dogs and a small house. And the second that the rent is going to go up with $10, they're going to move. Maybe for them it works. But for the people who listen to us, it doesn't work. For exceptional people who wants exceptional success, it doesn't work. That's
Right.
the Matthias. That's the fact.
Wow. Fantastic. That's geweldig.
Okay, geweldig. Let's finish here and see you all next week. Thank you so much for listening.
Yes.
Come to us.
Thank you. And thank you. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Emir Hashem.
Bezrat Hashem, kol tov.
We should all have a fantastic rest of our week. Okay.
Git Gelt, the wisdom for your will. Git Gelt, the wisdom for your will.